When Madison Lane returns to her quiet mountain hometown to scatter her father's ashes, she uncovers more than grief. She unearths a decades-old conspiracy buried beneath poisoned soil, abandoned mines, and the lies of those she once loved. In Wren Hollow, silence isn't peace. It's a warning. Madison Lane had worked at Tersus Dynamics for over 9 years. She wasn't just another name in the system. She had built entire divisions from the ground up, mentored dozens of employees, and poured her heart into every late-night system patch, server migration, and crisis email. The office on the 19th floor of the sleek black glass building in downtown Chicago had become her second home. It was a cold Monday morning in February when the first signs of change whispered through the air. Madison arrived early, as usual, her boots crunching against the icy pavement. She greeted the sleepy security guard downstairs and rode the elevator up with a paper cup of coffee warming her fingers. The hallway lights flickered slightly, casting shadows on the motivational posters still hanging from the holiday party 2 months ago. At her desk, she noticed it immediately. Her login credentials didn't work. A small beep sounded from the monitor, and a red banner flashed across the screen. Access denied. Her brows furrowed. She tried again. Same result. She picked up her phone and dialed IT. Hey, it's Madison Lane. I think there's an issue with my login. Oh, hold on, came a stammer from the other end. It was Darren, a junior tech she had trained herself. I think you should talk to HR. Her chest tightened slightly. What? Why? I'm sorry, Madison. I don't know. They said you should check in with them first thing. The line went dead. The HR office was unnaturally quiet. Inside sat Patricia Henley, the company's head of people. Her expression was blank, a sealed envelope already in her hands. Madison, she said, not meeting her eyes. Please sit. I don't understand what's going on. My credentials aren't working, and I'm sorry to inform you, Patricia interrupted, pushing the envelope across the table. Your position has been made redundant, effective immediately. Madison stared at her. What are you talking about? I run the entire back-end security ops team. Yes, and we've decided to outsource those responsibilities, Patricia said quickly, as if reading a script. You'll find a severance offer enclosed. We ask you to refrain from contacting employees or accessing company systems moving forward. No explanation. No warning. Just erased. Madison didn't argue. She knew when the room had already made its decision. But her heart was pounding. Not in fear, but in confusion. And something else. Betrayal. As she left the room, she saw Lucas Grant, her replacement, walking down the hallway with a smug look and a badge clipped to his shirt. He didn't meet her gaze. 3 days later, Madison was still processing what had happened. She sat in her small apartment, the skyline glowing outside her window, her thoughts swirling. She hadn't told her parents yet. How could she? Her father had always warned her not to trust corporate loyalty. She used to laugh it off. Now it stung. A knock at the door startled her. It was Irene, a former coworker and friend who still worked in legal. Her eyes were wide with worry. I shouldn't be here, she said, stepping inside quickly. But you need to see this. She handed Madison a flash drive. There's a hidden folder in the company's financial system. Someone accidentally sent me access last week during a document dump. I found internal transactions labeled Operation Silhouette. Huge transfers. From our cybersecurity budget to an offshore account. Madison frowned. What does that mean? I think it means someone's stealing money. And I think they blamed you to cover it up. Madison felt her stomach drop. She couldn't sit still. She plugged in the flash drive, copied the folder to a backup, and scanned the documents. Dozens of transfers, masked under vague project names. Code Red, Echo Twin, Veil Shadow. The money trail pointed to Lucas Grant, the man who had taken her job. He'd only joined the company 6 months ago, but somehow he was already a senior director. She wasn't just fired, she was set up. That night, as she combed through the data, she received an anonymous email. Subject: Not everyone is against you. Message: Be careful who you trust. Look deeper into the boardroom. It wasn't just Lucas. A friend. Attached was a single image, a screen grab of a boardroom schedule. Three names stood out: Lucas Grant, Noah Carver, the new CFO Gina Wexley, executive. VP and board member Madison felt the pieces shift. This wasn't about her job. This was about millions. She realized she had a choice: walk away quietly, protect her peace, and let the company bury her name, or pull the thread and watch the whole system unravel. She chose the second. To uncover more, Madison reached out to an old college friend, Riley, a skilled hacker and cyber forensics expert who now freelanced for private firms. Riley was skeptical but intrigued. "You're saying they redirected security budgets to an offshore shell company and blamed you to plug the hole?" "Yes. I think the entire setup was to discredit me in case anything leaked." They began digging. Riley spoofed old internal credentials. Madison used her archived emails to track file pathways. What they discovered was shocking. Lucas had created backdoors in the security systems weeks before Madison was terminated. He'd been uploading encrypted files to a dark web marketplace. The company wasn't just embezzling money, they were selling sensitive client data, everything from private contracts to IP addresses to third parties. Madison crafted an anonymous dossier. She didn't want to go to the authorities, not yet. She needed leverage. She sent the dossier to two board members outside the inner circle, attaching a simple note: "Check the logs. The truth is beneath the silence." Then she waited. Within 48 hours, one of them responded. His name was Harold Strick, a quiet, older board member who rarely attended meetings in person. He offered to meet. In person. Quietly. They met in a downtown hotel lounge. Harold listened, nodded slowly, then said, "You were never supposed to find this. I warned them about Lucas. Gina vouched for him." "Why did you respond?" Madison asked. "Because I have a daughter your age," he said simply. "And because what they're doing is criminal, but if you go to the press, you'll be the one discredited. You need more." "I'm not afraid of them. You should be." He handed her a slip of paper. "This is a name. He's the company's internal compliance monitor, secretly works for the parent corporation. If you can get him on your side, they'll have no choice but to investigate." The name on the paper: Elliot Vance. The days that followed were dangerous. Madison noticed her phone glitching, her apartment lights flickering. Someone was watching her. One evening, as she crossed the street, a black car nearly ran her down. It wasn't an accident. She called Riley. "I think they're on to me." Riley's voice was low. "Then we need to move fast. They're scrubbing the servers." Madison knew what that meant. They were erasing everything, including evidence that could exonerate her. She reached out to Elliot Vance. No response. Then, 2 days later, she received a package at her doorstep. Inside was a burner phone, a hotel key card, and a note. "Meet me tomorrow, 9 p.m. Don't bring your phone. Come alone. EV." As she stared at the items, her mind raced. What she didn't know was that inside the same building where she had once led teams and secured systems, her name was still being whispered, not with admiration, but with fear. Because Madison Lane had uncovered something she was never meant to see, and someone was willing to kill to keep it buried. The hotel was quiet, almost eerily so. Madison Lane stood outside room 704 of the Belmont Inn, the burner phone and keycard Elliot Vance had sent clutched tightly in her coat pocket. She glanced down the hallway, heart hammering. No one. Just the soft hum of vending machines and the muffled sound of a TV through one of the doors. She slid the key into the lock. Click. The door opened. Inside, the lights were dim. Elliot Vance stood at the far end of the room, dressed in a gray trench coat, his face half-shadowed. "You're late," he said without turning. "You didn't exactly give me time to plan an outfit," she replied dryly. He turned, finally meeting her gaze. He looked like a man who had seen too much, tired but sharp. "I don't have time to explain everything. But what you found, Operation Silhouette, it's bigger than Tursus. It's part of a network of shell companies tied to defense contracts, data brokering, and digital manipulation." Madison stiffened. "You're saying Tursus is part of a bigger conspiracy?" "Yes. And you tripped the alarm when you touched those logs." They're watching everyone connected to it, including me. Then why help me? He gave a bitter smile. Because someone has to, and because I have a daughter too. Vance laid out the strategy. They needed to leak the data to a third party, someone, untouchable, who could expose the operation without implicating Madison directly. He proposed an investigative journalist. Anya Reeds, a Pulitzer-winning reporter known for blowing open deep state scandals. Madison had read her pieces. If anyone could handle this, it was Anya. But it had to be airtight. No traces, no digital footprints. We'll use an air-gapped laptop, Vance said. Old-school delivery, hand-to-hand. We use burner emails to arrange. The meeting. No names, no locations mentioned. Madison agreed. Her blood ran cold with the stakes. But she was in too deep to stop now. The next morning, she noticed something. Her apartment door lock was scratched. Her windows are slightly open. Someone had been inside. Riley confirmed it. They cloned your phone, Mads. Everything we've done. They know. Panic clawed at her. What do we do? We vanish. Go dark. For now. They switched locations, moving into a low-rent motel near the lakefront, paying in cash. Riley encrypted the hard drives again and rigged traps on all devices. Madison felt like a fugitive. But what hurt most wasn't the fear. It was the betrayal. She had given Tursis everything, and they had tried to erase her. While scanning data logs, Riley found a hidden directory. Inside, chat transcripts between Lucas Grant and Gina Wexley. The messages were sickening. Lucas. She's getting too close. We pin the budget anomalies on her. Gina. Make sure the HR exit is clean. We can't risk a lawsuit. Lucas. Should I erase her user profile? Gina. No. Let her hang herself. Madison felt rage boiling in her veins. This wasn't just professional, it was personal. Anya Reeds was as careful as they came. The rendezvous was in a crowded farmer's market downtown. Madison wore sunglasses and a cap. She dropped the flash drive into a paper bag with 2 oranges and handed it to Anya like an ordinary shopper. You sure this will do it? Madison asked. If even half of what's on this is true, it'll be front page by next week, Anya said. You might want to get out of the city, fast. Madison nodded. 2 days later, all hell broke loose. Anya's article hit the media like a lightning strike. Data deception inside the corporate web of Tursis Dynamics. It exposed everything: the offshore accounts, the security breaches, the sale of private data, even photos of Lucas meeting with known corporate black market dealers. Tursis denied everything. Then, the FBI raided their Chicago office. Madison watched the news with trembling hands. Amid the chaos, Madison received a message. From Harold Strick. You started a fire. Some of us want to rebuild from the ashes. Come see me. She met him in his private office. He looked weary but relieved. They were going to sell everything: patents, codes, even employee identities. You stopped them. At what cost? Madison asked. He looked her in the eyes. Help us rebuild. Lead security. Full autonomy. Double your old pay. Clean slate. Madison blinked. You want me to go back? No, he said. I want you to lead. From the top. She didn't answer immediately. That night, Madison sat on the roof of the motel with Riley. The city glowed beneath them. Safe. For now. Are you going to take it? Riley asked. She didn't respond right away. They buried me once. I won't let them do it again. She pulled out her old ID badge, snapped it in half. If I go back, it won't be as Madison the employee. It'll be Madison Lane, the one they couldn't break. In the distance, sirens wailed. War was over, but the reckoning was just beginning. Madison Lane sat in the pale light filtering through her kitchen window, the coffee untouched in her hands. The air felt colder now, even though it was the beginning of spring. Derek's death had done more than punch a hole through her life. It had shifted the very ground beneath her feet. But her instincts screamed, this wasn't suicide. This was a cover-up. The documents Derek had hidden were encrypted, buried in layers of protection. Madison knew she needed help. She hadn't heard from Ryan Wu since the night she found the flash drive. He had gone off the radar, which was unsettling. She remembered his parting words. "If you don't hear from me, assume they're watching you too." So, she decided to make her moves. She took a leave of absence from the newspaper. Officially, it was grief leave. Unofficially, it was war. Every file she decrypted from Derek's drive pointed to a hidden network of slush funds, shell companies, and redirected municipal resources. Madison began to see a map, invisible lines connecting names, dates, and payments. One name kept reappearing: Senator Howard Keene, a man who built his campaign on anti-corruption and transparency. Madison dug deeper. Keene had old ties to Madison's hometown and an abandoned construction project called Hollow Creek Renewal Initiative. Billions were allocated, yet the site remained untouched. She printed satellite images, matched them with financial records, and noticed discrepancies. Funds were being moved from the Hollow Creek budget into private medical research institutions, some of which were linked to GeneState Biotech, a company she had never heard of, until she saw its board member profile, Ava Cartwright. Her stomach dropped. Madison had known Ava. In college, Ava was a brilliant but secretive biotech prodigy. They had clashed once at a student protest about medical ethics. Now here she was, connected to everything rotten Madison was uncovering. She scheduled an interview under a pseudonym, posing as an investor. Ava agreed to a 20-minute Zoom call. The woman on the screen looked the same: sharp eyes, hair tied back, voice crisp. Madison played her role flawlessly until she dropped a single, deliberate line. "I'm particularly interested in your work on behavioral data collection through community clinics, especially the ones funded by Hollow Creek." Ava's face froze. Then her smile returned, colder. "This interview is over," Ava said. The call ended. Madison knew she had struck a nerve. The next day, she noticed the same black SUV parked outside her apartment. When she walked to the grocery store, it followed slowly at a distance. She turned into alleys she knew, watching from reflection angles, testing her suspicion. The car always reappeared. She bought a burner phone, used encrypted messaging to contact Ryan Wu. Finally, 3 nights later, a reply. "Meet me at 2 a.m. West end of Hollow Creek site. Come alone." Madison parked far from the location and walked through the woods. The old construction site was rusted over, with steel beams like skeletons jutting into the night. Ryan emerged from the shadows. Thinner, eyes darker. "You shouldn't have come," he said. "They're on to you. They killed Derek. They tried to kill me." Madison whispered. "What is this all about? GeneState? Keene?" Ryan pulled a tablet from his coat and showed her a presentation. Surveillance maps, DNA sequences, algorithms. They're building a behavioral control system. They test on underserved communities using these so-called renewal projects. It's not just data collection. It's an intervention, manipulation. She reeled. "You mean mind control?" "No problem," he said. "Behavior, emotion, decision biasing. You get people to vote a certain way, move to certain neighborhoods, or stay away from protests, all under the guise of public health." He handed her a data chip. "This is everything. Names, logs, funding trails. It's your story now." Then headlights flashed in the distance. "Run," Ryan said. Madison ran through the woods, clutching the chip. Behind her, shouts. A gunshot. She got to her car, breath ragged, tires spinning in the gravel. By the time she got home, her apartment had been broken into, drawers rifled, laptop gone. She knew she couldn't go back. She booked a train ticket to D.C., then changed her mind and boarded a bus to Boston instead. She needed allies. She needed distance. She sent the data chip to a journalist friend at The Atlantic, told them to open it only if she disappeared. Then she checked into a tiny motel outside Cambridge and began writing the story of her life. But she couldn't stop, shaking. Madison traced GeneState's most controversial research to an unregistered clinic in Vermont. Disguised as a wellness center, it was funded by the same slush fund. She posed as a patient. Blood tests were required on intake. She swapped her sample with a sterile vial she had prepped. Inside, she recorded footage. Rooms filled with coded patient files, some labeled emotional volatility trials, and stimulus response conditioning. In a staff locker room, she found printed transcripts of conversations patients had, recorded without consent. She copied what she could, escaped before her name could be logged. Later, comparing the data to Derek's files, she saw the connection. Gene State was not just researching human behavior, they were engineering it. And Derek had been part of a counter-study, a whistleblowing experiment gone rogue. The Atlantic called. Their systems had been hacked. We can't open the file. Her contact said, "It's gone." Ava Cartwright released a press statement calling Madison an unstable ex-reporter suffering from delusions after a colleague's suicide. Senator Keene called for an investigation into irresponsible journalism undermining public trust. Her bank account was frozen. Her old boss was fired. She had been officially erased. In desperation, Madison released a 90-minute video. She explained everything, shared names, faces, patterns. She uploaded it from a secure cafe, bounced through proxies, and posted on anonymous forums. Within a day, it had 20,000 views. Then it was taken down. She reposted. The cycle repeated. But now people were talking. Screenshots spread. Activist groups messaged her. One hacker collective reached out. Darkroot. They promised to mirror her data across the world. "This isn't just your fight anymore," they wrote. Madison didn't know if she was winning or losing. She hadn't slept in 48 hours. The motel TV buzzed with noise. On the news, another suicide, another whistleblower. But then a CNN report aired. A leak showing Gene State's unethical testing methods. The story was catching on. Senator Keene held a press conference, but protesters shouted over him. Madison watched from her motel, sipping coffee gone cold again. Her life was broken. Derek was gone. Ryan had vanished again. But something had shifted. The silence was no longer complete. The rain was falling harder now, sheets of silver cascading down the mountainside like nature itself was trying to drown the secrets buried in Wren Hollow. Madison Lane stood at the edge of the ruins, her coat soaked through, her breath coming in sharp clouds. The dampness didn't bother her. She welcomed the cold. It kept her mind sharp, her senses alert. She wasn't alone. Across from her stood Victor Harlan, once her father's loyal friend and now the man who had tried to bury the past under lies, threats, and murder. And beside him, holding a pistol with trembling fingers, was Charlotte, the woman Madison had once trusted with her soul. "You shouldn't have come back," Victor growled, his voice lost in the storm. "And you shouldn't have buried my father. Alive in a tunnel full of corpses," Madison shot back. Charlotte's hand wavered, the gun tilting slightly downward. "I didn't want this," Charlotte said softly, eyes wide as if waking from a nightmare. "I didn't know it would go so far, but you helped him cover it up," Madison replied, heart hammering. "You destroyed files. You poisoned the town's memory." "I was trying to protect what was left of us," Charlotte screamed. "I was trying to survive." Thunder cracked. Above them like a warning shot from the heavens. Victor took a step forward, his eyes filled with the same cold calculation Madison remembered from her father's funeral. "This doesn't change anything. That report will never make it out. No one will believe you." Madison reached into her coat slowly and held up a small USB drive. "It's already uploaded," she said, "to the cloud, to the environmental court, to journalists across the state. It's over." Victor's jaw tightened. "Then I guess you're of no use to us now." He lunged for the gun in Charlotte's hand. Charlotte screamed and pulled the trigger. The bullet caught Victor in the shoulder. He stumbled back, crashing against a rotting beam of the collapsed mining shack. Madison rushed forward, grabbing Charlotte's hand. "We need to go." But Victor wasn't down. Bloodied, snarling, he pulled out a hidden blade from his coat and charged. Madison twisted sideways, grabbing an old iron rod from the ground and swinging. It connected with a sickening crack, and Victor crumpled. He didn't get back up. The storm fell silent. The courtroom was packed. Madison sat in the front row, clutching her father's journal to her chest. The screen beside the judge displayed dozens of high-resolution images, rusted drums of toxic waste, maps of illegal tunnels, and forensic data from skeletal remains, pulled from beneath the town. Charlotte had turned herself in the day after the storm. Her cooperation had helped the investigation expand. Her sentence, while inevitable, would be reduced due to her testimony. Victor had survived but was now in a maximum security hospital under armed watch. His empire was crumbling. Investors pulled out. Authorities seized his properties. As the judge read the list of charges, environmental destruction, illegal hazardous dumping, homicide, Madison finally felt her heartbeat slow. Justice had taken years, but it had come. Madison stood beside a small memorial plaque near the mining entrance, in memory of Madison Lane, a man who uncovered the truth and paid for it with his life. The silence beneath has been broken. The town had changed. New families had moved in. Cleanup efforts had begun with federal support. The groundwater was still being monitored. But there was hope. Madison watched as children played in the distance, their laughter echoing where silence had once ruled. Charlotte had sent her a letter from prison. It wasn't forgiveness she asked for, only understanding. Madison hadn't replied yet. Maybe she would. One day. For now, she stood under a pale sky, the storm long gone, her father's voice living on in every choice she made. She wasn't just Madison Lane, daughter of the man they tried to erase. She was the woman who made the silence speak,